Welcome to this episode of Talk Commerce. Today I have Danny Kirk. He is the founder of ReddiReach. Danny, go ahead, give us an introduction to yourself. Tell us your day-to-day role and one of your passions.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for having me on, Brent. Yep. My name is Danny Kirk, founder of ReddiReach. We focus on getting our clients' names dropped in AI search using Reddit marketing and AI search optimization. That's all by way of saying that when somebody shows up or goes to their favorite chatbot, OpenAI, Claude, whatever it might be, they ask about a certain product, we try to have our clients mentioned in that as part of it. And what do I like to do besides that? You and I were just talking about endurance sports. So that's something I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit more.
All right, that's awesome. So, Danny, before we get into content, we're going to talk about, told for this to be about a 20-minute conversation, might go a little longer. I do this thing called the Free Joke Project. I'm going to tell you a joke. You just give me a rating 8 through 13. It's guaranteed to be a bad joke. So here we go. I got cast in a film about a bakery. It's not a huge part, just a small role.
Yeah, that would definitely be an 11, 12 range, I would say. Maybe not a 13, but pretty high up there.
All right, good. Yeah, maybe 100K or 100-mile race.
Yeah, definitely up there.
All right, good. Yeah, just so the listeners know, Danny and I are both runners, and we're not going to talk about this whole thing on running. My last guest was a Jack Russell owner, so I'm also a Jack Russell owner, and we did not spend any time talking about Jack Russells. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about AI search. And Reddit, I think, is the one thing that really has been leaned on by a lot of the models. Tell us about maybe how you got into what you're doing and how you help people.
Yeah, absolutely. The longer version of that story, or not too long, is I have no education in marketing or business. I was actually a music major in college, but stumbled into startups about 15 years ago, grew a couple of companies, a couple of failures, a few big wins, started this agency about a decade ago. We were big into the email marketing space, then got into search. And then kind of on the Reddit and AI search side of things, I've been a longtime Reddit user myself, so I was able to kind of see what was coming from a long distance as far as AI's use of Reddit and how that would kind of influence search on the AI search side of things. So that's when we started offering organic Reddit marketing to our clients, and then full AI search optimization, because Reddit is just one piece of the puzzle today.
Yeah. So tell us, I mean, I guess most people know what Reddit is, but why is Reddit such a good source of information for the LLMs?
Yeah, the LLMs are buying Reddit's data because it is one of the greatest places to find tons of human data from very passionate people. And I mean that because Reddit organizes itself into subreddits. So you have all these topics, and each one of those topics is just its own little nation state around, Jack Russell Terriers, ultra running, whatever it might be. And you just have these incredibly passionate people around those topic areas that are talking about products, about problems they have, all that jazz. And that's a great place to get human data for the LLMs to train off of, because they have tons of data that they can pull from a kind of fixed data sources, but this is ever evolving. It's changing every day and updating with the newest information. It's also an open website. So whereas some other platforms, even Twitter, you can't really necessarily see it and get the data unless you're logged in. Anybody can go into Reddit and get that data. So that's how it kind of first started, just scraping Reddit for that data. And of course, now OpenAI and Google have large partnerships directly with them.
Do you think there's a mistake? I mean, I think Amazon has come out and said they're trying to block bots. Do you think it's a mistake by some of those bigger companies to try to block these LLM bots from scraping them and missing out on that traffic opportunity?
Yeah, it's probably not binary, but is it more of a mistake than less of a mistake? I would say it's probably more of a mistake to do that, because they are going to find the data somewhere and they're probably willing to pay for that data somewhere. So why not give them a little bit of a taste, have their bots trained on it, and then maybe make some sort of partnership with it.
Give us an example what you would advise a client. And let's just say I have a specialty running store and I specialize in downhill marathons. How would I go about putting content into Reddit feeds to help myself be seen as an expert on running downhill?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I would just search your brand name plus Reddit and Google, or, just enter in a search like that and see if you're even mentioned on Reddit. Sometimes if you're a big enough brand, you might already have some interaction on there from some customers. If so, that's great. Maybe just join the conversation even as the founder of your brand. You can, put your name on there, put your company's name on there, be transparent and say, hey, I'm with the company. Thanks for the feedback, or thanks for the love. Here's some resources if you might need them fitting those new downhill running shoes, whatever that is. If there aren't any mentions of your brand on there, you're going to go want to find out where your tribe lives. So it's likely, a running associated subreddit, or maybe downhill running associated one, and just see what people are talking about, see what problems and solutions they're looking for, and then join that conversation. You can either do it from a branded perspective, saying, hey, I'm from this company, or even from a non-branded perspective, just sharing publicly available information about your brand that is helpful to the reader, that is not salesy, that's just very value add, and then mentioning your brand as part of that.
Is there, and I cringe at this idea, but I know there's ways to automate a lot of this, and I'm a big LinkedIn user. I see people that have clearly made AI generated posts as comments, and I think there must be a statistic out there to see the length of the comment now, and the amount of dashes in your comment has must have been tripled by the since 2022. But is there a way to find that and maybe help you as a brand to make the process easier? Trying to say it in a nice way.
Yeah, for sure. There certainly are. But it sounds like we probably both align on this. Reputation takes a lifetime to build and a second to destroy. All of our work is 100% human. So there are tools out there, and we use some of them to find things that you want to target. But as far as the doing the work, the writing, the content, Reddit has an incentive to keep humans on their platform and bots off their platform. If they don't, they lose their business model. And for 20 years, they have been unprofitable, and they're finally profitable. So they have incentive, and we're actually seeing them crack down on automations. So our advice is use some of these tools. A great one of my buddies created is subreddit Great tool, helps you find those posts that you want to interact with, but then write all the comments yourself. Be 100% human, be genuine, be helpful. Don't let AI take that place, but you can certainly do it more efficiently with tools like that.
And this is sarcastic, but should you then be very spiteful and mean when just joking? I, I'm in a lot of subreddits, and man, sometimes what people say is just crazy.
It,
How
it, it,
I guess
it
so. That my main idea that on that question was how do you think the LLMs filter out all that garbage stuff that comes out of Reddit?
Yeah, I imagine if the AI is good enough to write some of those things, that's probably also good enough to detect it. I imagine they have a way of detecting AI slop, and they're able to filter out that from the human noise. Now, of course, AI can be trained to write not like AI, but that's kind of, I think getting better over time. But yeah, I think they have their own ways of detecting that and putting lower signal on that content.
Right. Yeah. I guess I'm specifically talking about, like, why would you ever run downhill? It's just going to ruin your knees. Like all these stupid comments that people say that they don't know what they're talking about. But Reddit, I mean, that's not a bash on Reddit hour, but there's like such a swing of information that you can get, and it's really have to put it through a filter. And I would imagine they put the same kind of filter on.
Yeah, I see what you mean now. Yeah, a couple things there. Reddit has upvotes and downvotes. Obviously, I imagine AI is not putting a huge amount of weight on a very downvoted item.
Mm,
So they're yet again allowing the humans to kind of give the high signal to AI. And then another thing is that for brands, AI is going to tell somebody something about your brand, and it might not always have the correct information. So
mm.
maybe that one person that ran downhill and they didn't mention that they already had an IT band problem and their knee was hurting the whole time, and they blamed it on your shoes, even though it wasn't your shoes. Being a part of AI search optimization is not just trying to be found in there, but also feeding AI correct information because it
Hmm.
may already have an incorrect vision of your brand.
Yeah. What was so you focus mainly on Reddit, but now Reddit or like ChatGPT is taking some emphasis off of Reddit, or is that just they're kind of spreading the love out to other platforms? Are you focusing on other platforms as well now?
Yep, absolutely. With the full AI search optimization we do, that's kind of broad spectrum. You're totally correct. Back in September of last year, Google and OpenAI kind of weighted their citations, and Reddit was around, and this is crazy, they were around 80% of all citations, which is way too high. That's absurd. Now, on average, from the data I've seen, they're around 20% of all citations as a broad generalization. I still think that is actually way too high. I imagine over time they'll settle maybe around 10% or even high single digit percentages as we get more data sources out there. But of course, the other things with AI search outside of Reddit. So you have Reddit marketing, you have digital brand mentions broadly across the internet, PR, backlinks, all that jazz, content in a format that AI likes to read from your website, and then obviously optimizations to your website too.
I know citations is a big part of what AEO does. Is the citation part of that involved with the backlink, or is it just a mention of your brand that's important in the citation?
We see just the brand mention is the most important part, but that's not to say that the backlink is unimportant. Everyone is anybody that's talking about SEO is dead. That's just definitely not true. SEO is alive and well. SEO has just broadened.
Mhm.
Whereas Google was kind of very narrow in what it needed to show up, to have your brand show up on page one. AI is a lot more diverse in its data sources. So its backlinks are still important. It's just a little bit different than that.
If we flip back to what a lot of the merchants are seeing, and we're hearing it from merchants that they are not getting the traffic or click through rate that they had in the past because Google is, especially Google is now just giving you the summary of the answers. And sometimes it's hard to figure out which link to click on in Google. How are you advising them then to make sure that the product that they're eventually trying to sell is getting talked about, but then they're coming to their site to buy it?
Yeah, for sure. It's all about just kind of nailing these four pillars. First and foremost, if they're an e-commerce brand, having their website and also the schema of their products optimized in a way that LLMs and robot crawlers want to read. That's critical because without these small edits to their site, literally AI can't read it. So kind of that's very easy to do. And that's kind of the most important thing. And then from there, yeah, maybe do a little Reddit marketing, find out where your tribe is in there, put out content that AI likes to read. It loves product roundups, it loves comparisons, all that jazz. Get more brand mentions on top cited sites and also use a AI search intel tool. So there's a bunch of them out there. We love Peekaboo. Excuse me, AIpeekaboo.com is a great one. There's, of course, big names like Profound, Peek. Peekaboo is the one that we use most. And that will show you how you are ranking against other brands, your competitors, and where they're being cited, where you can also edge into.
Yeah, that's super interesting. The places that they're writing, is it more important that you're keeping up the content on your own site, or you're trying to get content on other sites? Like Reddit was a great example, but as a brand, like say I'm selling again running shoes. Is it well, let's say well, let's make it more complex. I'm a specialty running store, and I'm depending on Hoka or Nike to send me traffic. Is it more important to be in your local market and sell to that? Or, I mean, there's places where you want to be, right? Other than just social media.
Absolutely, specifically about the local stores. So there's a great store here in Salida, Colorado, where I'm at, 7,000 feet running store, and it's amazing. For local businesses, it's a little bit different. Definitely focus on the local Reddit aspect of it. Get Google reviews it really loves, and then just be involved with that local SEO piece. So local appears to be a little bit different versus you're a large shoe company and get traffic from all over the world. So
Hmm.
local's a little bit different. It's kind of very similar to local SEO historically.
What are you excited about? That we're seeing now in this trend more towards the LLMs. What kind of things are you seeing that merchants should know about?
Yeah, so obviously and this is not new, this is several months old. So the testing out of one-click buying in app with ChatGPT and other AI. That's huge. Just imagine that maybe someday your customers don't actually go to your website. They have a chat with their favorite chat bot. Maybe it lasts multiple days long. They finally get recommended three different brands, and yours is either one of them or it's not one of them, and they just buy right there. So that's both very exciting and daunting to many brands, but something to pay attention to. Ads is also very interesting. We all know it's coming and it's already kind of begun to roll out and ChatGPT, can't say I love that idea, but we all know it was only a matter of time. I'm fascinated to see how that rolls out.
Yeah, the ad thing I think is well, I suppose it's theoretically gonna reduce the cost of what it is for to run an LLM. How about this idea that, well, let's just pretend I have a Shopify site and Shopify has the integration already built in as a Shopify site that you probably opted in for by default to ChatGPT. Should myself as a merchant also be encoding all my pages with JSON LD and all the fun stuff that you do on the front end, as well as what's already built in now on the back end in Shopify?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not an expert on that. From what I've heard, that's important, but yeah, I'm probably not the right person to technically speak to that. It does sound like it's important from some of the experts I follow, though.
I've been pitched that you need to have a completely marked down version of your website, like llm.domain.com. Do you see any value in doing something like that?
I would say if the cost is low, maybe. A lot of these things, like I was a few months ago, we got a new website. Claude built it, and then I had Claude optimize it so it could read it. I was like, all right, make sure this is optimized, and it did need some particular things. I spent $20 on that, so yeah, I felt pretty good about that. If it costs a lot more, many times that, I probably wouldn't feel so good about that.
Yeah, I thought one thing really interesting is, the llm.txt file that you're supposed to have like your robots file. I wrote an article about that. Then I had a bunch of people telling me that like this is just completely useless right now because nobody's adopted it. And I didn't think about, well, everybody's talking about it, but nobody's adopted it, right? So the only thing I'm trying to say is like we're at such an early entry point, but everything is moving so fast. And like you said, if it doesn't cost a lot of money to make your llm.txt, your LLM dot domain site, and you might as well do an llm.txt, right? If it's somebody's going to use it, let it use it.
Yeah, and I think all of us were kicking ourselves for not getting into SEO 30 years ago. I mean, I'm not that old, so I shouldn't say that, but this feels like a very similar thing today. It's like the traffic from AI probably to your website is probably single digits right now. But yet again, this is a snowball you want to be building, so you're not kicking yourself 10 years from now wishing you had started building that snowball now. It's tiny right now. It might not matter, but you should start working.
Yeah, from a traffic standpoint, I've seen numbers as low as 10% coming from LLMs to as high as 20%, which still means that Google owns a huge percentage of that traffic. Doesn't mean you shouldn't worry about it, right? But now is the time you should be doing it. Now is the time you should plant a tree, not in 20 years.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think about the generation that's younger than me because it's all about buying trends with different generations. Like, I grew up with Google. I am also using AI as a consumer as well. But imagine this generation that's younger than me that will never know 10 blue links, and they will only ever have their AI chatbot that they've been chatting with for decades.
Right.
Now imagine that buying shift. So yeah, you want to start building that snowball today.
One thing that I've experienced is I'm a big Claude Code user. So a lot of times it'll tell me something. I'm like, God, I don't think that's right. So then I'll go to Google and I'll Google it. Now Google gives me a whole explanation of how to do it. I copy and paste Google and put it into Claude Code. And then it's like, oh yeah, you're right. I was mistaken. You're right. You should have done it that way in the first place. The only thing is like, the only question I ask is like, you can't really trust any of them. You have to be like, you have to be questioning what they're giving you because like you said, they're filtering out all that garbage data on Reddit. They're giving you the good things, but maybe some of that garbage data is data you need to know. Like that criticism of that running shoe is something that maybe you should know. And the person who said it is saying it in a way that is so inflammatory and direct, like that you're not going to want to, they filtered it out.
Absolutely. That's definitely true. And AI, of course, just like the humans it was trained on, has its own incentives. Just today, I'm helping grow another company right now. And we have an app that we're building. Well, it's actually live, but I was working on some features in it, a live chat, as well as automated emails. Somebody, an expert in the field, a full stack developer, was like, hey, get these out of the box solutions, grab the API and plug that into Lovable. So I was like, Lovable, what do you think about these two out of the box solutions? And it was like, no, no, no. Let's just build something custom. And you know why it said that? It's because it's selling me tokens,
Yeah,
So of
yeah.
course it's gonna say, let's build something custom, even though that is the absolute wrong thing to do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole idea of the slide into doing everything the way you want that LLMs are going to do it, if you don't understand like a Git repository, then you could potentially make yourself a really great working website that's dead because the LLM rewrote it the next day.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those horror stories now. I'm in a group of 1,000 e-commerce owners, and yeah, there's been a few where they're like, "Boy, I woke up Sunday morning and our website was gone," and a website generating, 500,000 a day, and they're like, it just disappeared, and we had to rebuild the thing from a just nightmarish. But of course, that's an edge case, but it
Yeah.
does happen.
I read a newsletter called Tuesdays with Claude. So I have there's a lot of emotions in that. And the thing is that, I guess LMs don't care about what your emotions is. And the other thing is that when you're asking it for information, it's not necessarily telling you anything ahead of time, what's going to happen. It's told you what's happened, right? So I think that's another indication. But anyways, so sorry, Danny. Sorry, we've gotten a little off track. What is your take for this next quarter? What are you excited about in Reddit? What are you excited about for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Excited about in Reddit. They recently cracked down on a lot of automations. That's making it easier than ever for good actors like myself that are 100% human to do better than ever for the clients we get to serve. And for business, yeah, we're actually in partnership with another agency to kind of partner on bigger projects with full AI search optimization, because anybody that wants Reddit marketing, they really want to be come up in AI search. And anybody that wants AI search optimization needs Reddit marketing. So pretty excited about that too.
That's perfect, Danny. As we have a few minutes left here as we close things out, I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug. What would you like to plug today?
Yeah, I'm going to shamelessly plug Precision Fuel. So I used these on a long run recently. Had the woman who won Cocodono a couple weeks ago. I saw her slurping these things down. The Precision Fuel 90G carb gels. I'm all about them. Very little stomach issues. So you're welcome, Precision Fuel.
That's awesome. I was a big Tailwind user too, and they were based in Colorado. They came from Colorado. I used them for such a long time, but it was so hard. I stopped wearing a Camelback when I started doing more faster road marathons, and I couldn't carry it, but I still had some stomach issues. So that's a good tip. Thanks,
Yeah,
Danny.
totally.
All right, Danny Kirk is the founder of Ready Search. Thank you so much for being here today.
All right. Thanks, Brent.